Always one of the highlights of the Power Breakfast is hearing from our friends at KOA. Not only do they display leadership in the campground industry, but they lead as well with consumer studies and surveys that, if we listen, help the entire industry. Joining us this morning from Montana is the president and CEO of Kampgrounds of America, Toby O'Rourke. She's a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. She's been at KOA since 2011 and proven to be an outstanding leader, not only for her company, but for the entire outdoor industry. Additionally, Toby serves on the board of directors of RVIA. Please welcome KOA President and CEO, Toby O'Rourke.
Morning. Morning. 25.7 million. That's the number of how many new households have started camping since 2020. 25.7 million. Our annual research study came out a couple weeks ago, which you may have seen, that says, rest assured, camping is very healthy. Despite what's happening in the economy right now, fluctuating gas prices, inflation, and normal travel patterns resuming, people are still camping. And it's growing. 6 million new households started camping just last year alone. Prior to the pandemic, we used to see about 2 to 3 million new households per year, and last year we saw 6. Very healthy. It is definitely the hottest thing in travel, in my opinion. 1 out of every 3 leisure trips last year included camping. And as we all know, camping is an important economic engine. We have all this great data about our contribution to the GDP, but beyond that, we estimate that campers spent $52 billion in local communities last year while they were camping, and that's $8 billion more than the year before. All of this buzz has created widespread awareness for camping. And a good way that we can think about that is through this funnel. Traditional purchase funnel, if you're aware of one. So we're going to talk about that awareness at the top. That's generated from everything we've been talking about. The great advertising from Go RVing, reaching tens of millions of people. The advertising from all the brands here in this room. Also, national press, right? Kind of media darlings, especially now as we're headed into Memorial Day, we're getting a lot of great press coverage. And now other brands, other companies outside of our category are on the bandwagon. Subaru right now is selling their product through ads about camping, if you've caught those. A lot of awareness. So then out of that big bucket, there's a group of people who will move into interest, into consideration. They're aware of camping. Their neighbor has an RV. They've seen it on TV. But now they have a need to go camping, and they're going to consider it. Maybe they want to take their kids on a unique vacation. Maybe their expenses are tight, and they view this as an affordable activity. They don't want to get on an airplane. I'm in that bucket. They don't have time. Maybe they don't want to take their vacation time to go across the country, but they know they can have a great vacation close to home in an RV. So they're aware, they have interest, and then they make that decision to camp. And like I started out, since 2020, 25.7 million people, households, have made that decision to camp. And that's the group I want to talk about this morning. Once they make a decision, they move into that journey. They decide where they're going to camp, they book their trip, they go on their stay, and then we hope that they come back in. And the big question that we all have, everyone in this room, we all share the question is, are these people going to camp again? Are they going to buy another RV? Are those who rented an RV going to buy an RV? Are we going to keep them in the camping journey? Well, the answer isn't very simple, and it's not very positive, to be honest. 68% of those new campers are lukewarm or unlikely to camp again. 68%. For the past couple of years, when I've been asked about all these new people camping when I do interviews, I always say, there's going to be natural drop-off. Camping's not going to be for everybody. But I really don't accept that anymore, and I don't think you should either. I want to know what's not okay for those people who don't want to camp again, so we can fix it. Honestly, I haven't really dug into this new camper group very much until recently, and there were some things jumping out at me that I thought we should talk about this morning. We asked people who went on an RV trip for the first time, how was your first RV trip? 32% said good or great. So what was less than okay for that other 64%? Here's the problem as I see it, the reality. Camping, RVing is the easy choice, but it's not always easy. Easy choice, not always easy. What do I mean by that? Easy choice. People have started camping and RVing for very compelling reasons these past couple of years. Started out because of safety. People wanted their own things. They didn't want to stay in hotels and get on airplanes during the pandemic. They wanted to be outdoors instead of indoors. And we know that a lot of people now are looking for flexibility since the pandemic. And 72% of campers think camping is more flexible than air travel and hotels. It's also affordable. 2/3 of people feel camping is more affordable than hotels and airlines, and it is. The average increase of a hotel room from right now to last year is 54%. Hotel rates are up 54%. Airlines are up 18%. At KOA, the average increase on our RV sites right now is 7.5%. 54%, 7.5%. It's a big difference there. In this economy, affordability is very important. We need to keep people in this cycle. And camping continues to show its resiliency. Of all travelers, not just campers, over half think that camping is a more affordable vacation. And of those people who already own RVs, 33% said they're going to use it more times this year in place of other types of travel, and as we head into a down economy. Now, you probably have an idea what might not be easy for your customer. Because while they all made this great choice to start camping, to start RVing, they made the easy choice, it's a natural choice, it's not always easy, especially if you're a new camper, a new RVer. It can be intimidating. It can be hard to figure out how to drive the RV, where to park it, where to find a campsite, even how to start a campfire, what to pack. That can be intimidating. It's not always easy. And I'm sure you look at what's not easy for your customer. Maybe you get very granular and look at that. But what I think is really great about this room, as was mentioned this morning, is this brings together our whole ecosystem. Suppliers, OEMs, campgrounds, dealers, aftermarket. So what I'd like us to think about is this camping journey in terms of our whole ecosystem. And we can look at this, the end-to-end experience of that camper on this journey through all of us. So that camper makes the decision to camp, and they have to decide how. This is how new campers have broke down. 44% in tents, 26% in cabins or glamping, 24% in RVs. Of those who RV, they rent, they borrow. Some of them start right off by owning. So as they enter this cycle, if they make that decision to buy right off the bat, they go through that purchase cycle. and then everyone proceeds over to discover where to go camping. There is a lot of places to camp. I represent a very small segment of the camping industry. We see most people camp state, national, provincial parks. That's why getting the passage of the American Recreation Bill is so important. We've seen the biggest increases over the past couple of years in people camping on public and private land other than a campground. They pick a place to camp, they book, they move into the experience. If you own an RV, you may have some service that needs to be attended to, and then everyone has maintenance and storage. And then we want people to go back into that cycle. And they might do it a different way next time. We see 80% want to try other ways to camp. We do see switching. 1 out of every 4 cabin camper and tent camper wants to try an RV, which is great. This is how our pipeline gets filled for RV purchases. And if we can keep people in this cycle, especially now in this economy, and keep them happy and keep them cycling through when they do have more discretionary income, they do feel comfortable, they will buy that RV. So we all share the customer in this life cycle. But just as we all share the customer, we can all lose the customer. And we can lose the customer at any point in this process, as shown by these little, what I'm calling exit ramps, where those little X's are. They could have a bad experience in one part of the journey, and then another part of the segment has lost that customer. They could have a bad experience on campgrounds, find it very difficult. You've lost a potential RV buyer. Maybe they have a terrible service experience, decide to sell their RV, and now I've lost a future repeat camper. We all share the customer, we all lose the customer. And it's important that we think about how we make it easier, right, across the board here. Because otherwise, this isn't a map of a campground journey. This is a map of exit ramps. So to recap, a lot of new people have made that decision to camp. They made the easy choice, the smart choice. We know it's not always easy. We all share this customer. We can all lose this customer. To achieve our shared goal of retaining that customer, we all have that goal of retaining that customer, we need to challenge ourselves and each other to find and fix points of friction. Find and fix points of friction. What do I mean by friction? Well, friction is that force that an object encounters when it comes into contact with another object, right? Slows it down. Similarly, in a customer sense, we talk about points of friction being things that slow down the customer experience, makes it more difficult for them. And that can lead to loss or churn of that customer. Another way of thinking about points of friction is pain points. What are the pain points for that customer? We need to identify those, smooth them over so we can keep people retained in this cycle. So we dug into this a little bit and asked, what are some of those pain points? What are those points of friction? Here's a few. Only 23% of new campers said the sales team was helpful to them when first buying their RV in learning how to use the RV. In the discover phase, a quarter of people don't know where to camp. Or they think there's not enough campgrounds for their style of camping. "27% have difficulty booking a campsite." While camping, 2/3 of people say packing, driving, setting up is a pain point for them. Crowded campgrounds, not feeling safe and secure. Service side, 33% 35% quality of the RV, getting service on their RV is a friction point in their process. Again, everybody, these are first-time campers. Sizable number, say unpacking and cleaning when back home is a friction point. If we don't smooth over these friction points, we are at risk of losing those 70% of people that are lukewarm about continuing camping. We have to demand exceptional service at every point in the process. We have to make it easy to do business with us. Because what we also see in our research is if people have a great first experience, over half are likely to camp again. Over half, and I know we can increase that even more. Because if we can make the experience seamless and easy and less stressful, they can focus on spending time with their loved ones and enjoying the outdoors. That's the whole reason they went camping in the first place. And that emotional attachment to their loved ones, and that emotional attachment to camping is what's going to get them back camping again. And we see that. We talk to teenagers. They have such this great memories of, or these great feelings of camping with their family. And then as they become adults, they try to replicate that with their own family. But if it's not easy, they're likely to drop off. And the easier and less stressful we can make it, the more we can create lifelong campers. So from a solution, if I could offer some ideas, to find and fix those points of friction, we need to have a relentless focus on the customer, all of us. A buzzword for that is being customer obsessed. Customer obsession is hyper-focus on the customer experience from the customer perspective. It's a commitment to being customer-centric. 3 ways, we can break it down very simply: know, improve, and measure. We have to know who that customer is, and we have to know what their pain points are. We need to use data, invest in research to really understand our customers. I have a lot of research, but we have to go deeper. And we have to get more granular on this new camper. Sometimes the best way to do it is through what we call ethnographies, where you talk to people when they're in the experience of using the product or engaging in the activity. I think we could find some really great learnings there. But for now, what I know about the camper from an age perspective is that 70% of new campers are Gen Z or millennial. They're under the age of 42. And as James said, the average age of a buyer last year was 33. So how does knowing the age of the new camper change how we fix and identify and fix these pain points in the process? Obviously, technology has to be incorporated. We have to be mobile first in our strategies. We have to think about how we personalize the experience. Another thing I like to do as a marketer in understanding a customer is build personas. So we can identify different groups of our customers. We can walk through that process and understand what their pain points might be, because they're going to be different, right, for different groups. So let's think about families quickly, because 46% of new campers are camping with kids. And did you know that 25% of families are camping because they're traveling for sporting events? So let's, walk through the process. How does the pain points need to be addressed to make things easier for the family camper? Or we can look at it from an accessibility standpoint. This is a new area of focus for us because we are learning that 4 in 10 campers say they have some difficulty walking or climbing stairs. That's a sizable number. How do we make RVs more accessible? How do we make campgrounds more accessible? We can also think about accessibility from a sensory standpoint. 27% have difficulty with social interactions and communications, impacted by crowds of people, loud noises, too much visual and audible stimulation. Lots of pain points in the process for this group that we could address, and it's a sizable amount of people. One unique area, some new technology that's coming out, is you can add plugins to your website that your website can be customized based off the needs of that user. It's a good thing to think about in terms of this group. How about the remote worker? 33% of all people work remotely right now since the pandemic. When people are camping, 46% are working while they camp. So how do we think about RV product knowing people are going to be working when they're at their site? And what do we have to solve at the campground? It obviously underscores the need for good Wi-Fi. And we can't just check a box that we have it. We have to worry about the quality, because that is a key point of friction as well. Only 28% of campers say the Wi-Fi they've had at a campground is excellent. If I'm someone that works remotely, this would definitely be an exit ramp item for me. We need to operationalize what we know. I do a lot of research. I don't just do it for fun. I'm a big believer that we need to do research and then do something with it. We need to improve our products, improve our processes through what we learn in our research about the customer. All of these pain points are really ripe for innovation. They're also really ripe for disruption. There's a lot of new companies starting up in this industry trying to address these pain points. We're seeing a lot, for example, in the booking experience, trying to aggregate places for people to stay to make it easier for the camper to find somewhere to go. I would challenge you to think about how you can disrupt yourselves in the way that you do things. We're trying to do that. I added a position, an executive director of digital transformation is his title. I told him he was charged with disrupting how we do things, finding new technology solutions to make what we do better. We're a 60-year-old company. It's pretty easy to get stuck in your ways. We have to continue to disrupt our thinking. All of these pain points are also natural places for partnership. There's lots of ways within our ecosystem we can partner. We can activate, for example, mobile technicians on sites to campgrounds. I still think there's a lot to explore on the dealer and campground side. For example, can we be setting aside campsites on a campground for a new customer to come stay in, maybe even before they sign the papers and buy that RV, to make sure that RV is really going to meet their needs to solve that pain point early on. Also, have you heard the term co-opetition? There's a lot of competition in this business. I've got a lot of competition too, increasingly so. And this model I'm talking about today doesn't ignore that. What it does, though, is challenge us to look holistically at what the problems are. There's a lot of room for competitive advantage because how we solve the points of friction might differ between brands. But co-opetition is bringing competitors together to solve problems. I think one thing we could do as a group is tackle training of the new RVer. If you recall, 23% said they learned about how to use that RV when they were buying the product. Most of the respondents said they received help from the campground owner or staff, and about a third of people are online, looking at online forums and blogs. So we have a lot of unprepared new RVers out in the market trying to figure out how to use their RV. Not only does that make their process more difficult, creates more points of friction for them, makes them more likely to leave the process, it also contributes to problems with improper waste management and illegal boondocking. That creates a lot of stress on our public lands and the people that oversee those. So if we can create some innovative ways to train across our ecosystem, we can help ease their minds, make them enjoy the process more, and also create more ethical RVers. We need to measure. We need to ask for feedback, catalog that, make improvements based off what the feedback is. I'm a big believer you need to be proactive in that feedback. Go online and see what's being said about you. And also then respond promptly to customer complaints. But we really move the dial when we measure customer satisfaction. I would suggest you consider the Net Promoter Score. We've been using Net Promoter Score, NPS, for 15 years at KOA. It asks every customer a simple question. We send it automatically after their stay. How likely are you to recommend the service or product to others? It's a score of 1 to 10. And then there's an algorithm. You take the number of people, the percent of people that gave you 9s and 10s, your promoters, you subtract the detractors, and you get a score. A score of 50 is great. You have more promoters than detractors. A score of 70 is considered world class. I like NPS because it's used everywhere, and it allows us to benchmark all parts of our business against maybe people we admire or other companies we want to be like, or just to learn from. For example, John Deere is a 54. Samsung, 67. Costco, 79 NPS. Tesla, 97. The highest you can get is 100. I did not list out here those that have negative NPS, but because I knew the press was here, I didn't want that going out. But there are some I think you'd find very interesting that have very low NPS. NPS is great. It's for benchmarking, building action plans, setting goals as you build your business objectives. But again, getting back to the theme of my speech, would our shared customer recommend camping to others? As we think about it from an ecosystem perspective, would that new camper recommend camping to others? Well, we asked that in our research. The experienced RVer, someone who's been doing this for a while, their NPS is 43. Pretty good. Little room for improvement, but pretty good. The new camper NPS is 10. So this is definitely a call to action that we've got work to do to improve the experience for that new camper. Being customer obsessed will help us keep people on this journey with us. We can retain that 25.7 million I just talked about, but also there's going to be millions more that start camping this year and next year. It'll help us retain them. What I think it could also be powerful, though, in this conversation is to think about this from an economic standpoint. Another thing you may do in your company is talk about lifetime value of a customer. LTV measures total revenue to be expected from a customer throughout their history with you, throughout your business relationship with that customer. So let's imagine what the LTV is across our whole ecosystem of a single camping household. There's a lot right there. The collective value of that customer is immense. We could just do quick back of napkin math. From our research shows campers will camp for 33 years on average, 11 nights per year. You could tell me how many RVs they're going to buy, what those different price points would be. We could apply an inflation factor. You can see that that number can add up pretty quickly. That's what's at risk of losing one of those households out of this ecosystem. So hopefully, we're now thinking about this. We know that camping's the easy choice, not always easy. We all share the customer. We can all lose the customer. And to do that, we need to challenge ourselves and each other to find and fix those points of friction. We need to commit to being customer obsessed, to not only achieve these goals of retaining these customers, creating repeat buyers, creating repeat campers, to drive up that LTV of that camper, but also, and the icing on the cake is, we will create rabid fans who are going to tell more people and fill up more people into that awareness funnel. A campground is a real-life social network. It is buzzing. They're talking about what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what they like, what they don't like. They're online telling family and friends. And the better experience they have, the more positive those conversations are, and we're dropping more people into that awareness funnel. They're getting interested in camping and making that decision to start their journey with us. Thank you.